UK Maritime Trade Operations, or UKMTO, reported that in the early hours of March 12, the container ship Source Blessing came under attack. The ship caught fire in waters near Jebel Ali Port in the United Arab Emirates. No crew members were injured. The Source's Blessing has a capacity of 3,240 TEU. It sails under the Liberian flag. Hapag-Lloyd chartered the vessel and later subchartered it to Maersk. AAS data for the ship showed the note, all Chinese crews. Ship registry records list the registered owner as Well Wonder One Limited. This is a Hong Kong registered company controlled by Chinese interests. Hapag-Lloyd later confirmed the incident. They said debris from the scene matched what missile strikes would leave behind. On the same day, March 12, Mojtaba Khamenei, described as Iran's new supreme leader, made his first public statement. He said Iran would keep using strategic measures. These could include a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran might open new fronts if needed. He also promised to seek revenge for those killed. Compiled figures show the military confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran has reached its 13th day. Reports say 19 commercial vessels have been attacked so far. The incident led to heated discussions on Chinese-language social media right away. Some people questioned past claims. They had said ships with Chinese flags could pass through the area safely. Now those promises seem unreliable. Others pointed out a risk. If the Strait of Hormuz stayed blocked for a long time, it would hurt China's economy badly. They joked that rising tensions could make China's leaders angry enough to end long ties with Iran quickly. More critical comments said the attack was no accident. They suggested Iran's Revolutionary Guard chose a Chinese-linked ship on purpose. The goal may have been to send a strong do-or-die warning to Beijing. In recent years, China has bought up to 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. Even during the conflict, Iran kept shipping oil to China. This helped maintain its energy supply. Reports say these shipments continued even after senior Iranian leaders were killed. Thousands of barrels arrived each day. In total, more than 11.7 million barrels were delivered. Iran had hoped China would speak out for it on the world stage or offer greater military support. However, critics note that Beijing has taken little visible action. They describe the situation as one where China failed to meet Iran's expectations. Against this backdrop, some observers believe the attack on a Chinese-linked vessel served as a warning to Beijing. It reflected Iran's dissatisfaction with China's response during the conflict. As global attention turns to the Strait of Hormuz, Chinese sailors have become unexpected witnesses to the unfolding events. Footage now circulating online shows Chinese crew members watching an Iranian drone strike. Explosions lit up the night sky at an oil storage facility in Oman. The fires grew so large that vessels stayed about 10 nautical miles offshore to stay safe. Crew members could be heard reacting in shock. They shouted that the explosions were real and urged their ship to move away quickly. Omani authorities stated that on March 10, workers on a Chinese cargo ship filmed an Iranian Shahed 136 drone striking the largest oil storage facility at the port of Salalah in Oman. The attack caused a major fire. No casualties were reported. Satellite imagery and AIS tracking data show that several vessels from countries including Thailand and Iraq had already been attacked and caught fire near the Strait of Hormuz. These incidents happened hours before the Source Blessing event. On March 11, the Thai flag cargo vessel Marui Nari was hit by an unidentified projectile about 11 nautical miles north of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz. The strike started a fire on board. Of the 23 crew members, 20 were rescued or evacuated. 3 remain missing. Video released by Shenzhen Shenmei Tong International Logistics said its personnel witnessed attacks on the Thai bulk carrier Marui Nari and the Greek bulk carrier Star Gwyneth. They described nearby ship being struck by missiles. Those strikes caused explosions and fires. They noted the sound carried a frightening and powerful shock. Another video now circulating online appears to show a tanker hit by a missile. It was quickly engulfed in flames. Chinese crew members in the footage look visibly shaken. They fear the next missile might hit their own vessel. Reports shared among maritime observers say more than a dozen ships have been attacked in the area. As a result, warnings now circulate among Chinese sailors. They state that waters in the Middle East have become a high-risk zone. On March 11, shipping satellite maps showed a Chinese oil tanker. The tanker was preparing to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. It suddenly turned back. The crew had seen 3 tankers ahead of them explode. Those tankers were reportedly from Thailand and Iraq. They were struck in quick succession. Despite China's traditionally close ties with Iran, the vessel chose not to take the risk. On the same day, crew members aboard several Chinese tankers and cargo ships were stranded near the Strait of Hormuz. They were reportedly discussing how to attempt passage through the waterway. Some vessels had already been struck at sea for more than 2 weeks. Supplies were running low. Reports said even basic food stock had been exhausted. This forced crews to consider a risky attempt to cross the strait. According to accounts shared online, some crew members believe passing through at night would make escape difficult if a ship were hit. Sailing during the day, they said, might improve the chances of rescue if the crew had to abandon ship. Go through during the day. If you have to abandon ship, at least you could see the lifeboats. So which is riskier, night or day? That's what I mean. I might sail up to the entrance first, then maybe stop and wait. Night is riskier. The chance of getting hit is higher at night. During the day, at least you can abandon ship and try to escape. So, go during the day? Yeah, during the day. If you get hit, people could still see you and rescue you. At night, how would they even find you? Right, first do a proper risk assessment and get the company to sign off on it. Otherwise, if you end up abandoning ship, they'll blame it all on you. Wait, you're really going to go through? Seriously? How much are they paying you to take that risk? Forget the money. We're not even talking about money right now. It's about safety. Basically, we go during the day. You guys are really that brave? What else can we do? Either starve out here or make a run for it. For now, observers say the Strait of Hormuz has effectively entered a state of blockade. On March 11, a Chinese sailor reportedly complained about the situation in an online post. Right now, ships still can't get through. They're stuck outside the Strait of Hormuz. There are roughly 1,000 or 2,000 vessels halted inside and outside the strait. It's 6:22 p.m. on March 13. Let's take a look at the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. There are still no ships passing through. See these icons here? Those are ship markers. I filtered it to show oil tankers. Most of them are from major oil-producing countries. Over here, you've got tankers near Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And look here, these tankers are just sitting still. Over here is Kuwait, and this area is Qatar. Most of the Qatari oil tankers are parked around here, basically not moving at all. Right now, nobody can get through this passage. It's still effectively under blockade. No ships are passing, so we'll keep watching what happens tomorrow. Oil prices are likely to stay high because this route is still blocked. As long as the strait can't reopen, prices probably won't come down. Only when ships start moving normally again, like these tankers sailing through, will oil prices gradually stabilize and fall. Can Chinese ships still pass through the Strait of Hormuz? As fighting in the Middle East grows more intense, this question has left many people confused. Even Chinese sailors stranded in the region have posted online. They say they are completely puzzled. On one hand, a few reports mention Chinese-flagged or Chinese-owned vessels that have crossed the strait successfully. On the other hand, most Chinese ships stay anchored in the Gulf of Oman or outside the Persian Gulf. They cannot move forward. In reality, shipping traffic through the strait has fallen by more than 90%. The average number of vessels passing each day has dropped from about 79 to only a few. Sometimes none pass at all. More than 1,000 commercial ships are now stranded around the Persian Gulf. This includes many oil tankers and cargo vessels run by Chinese companies. Why have most Chinese ships chosen to wait at anchor instead of trying to force their way through? The answer lies in a basic rule of international shipping. Without insurance, a ship is effectively useless. After the conflict escalated, the Joint War Committee and the international group of P&I clubs acted quickly. Starting on March 5th, they ended war risk insurance coverage for ships near Iranian waters, the Persian Gulf, and the Gulf of Oman. On March 8th, they expanded the high-risk area. The revised exclusion list now includes Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, and Djibouti. The China Ship Owners Mutual Assurance Association also changed its coverage. In the past, war risk premiums were low, about 0.25% of a vessel's value. Now rates have risen sharply by 25 to 50%. In some cases, coverage is refused completely. Many ship owners must now buy temporary insurance for a single voyage. The cost has soared. Consider a 300,000-ton very large crude carrier, or VLCC, supertanker. The ship itself may be worth between 100 million and 150 million US dollars. The crude oil on board can exceed another 100 million US dollars. That means the total value of a single voyage may reach 200 million to 300 million US dollars. Without insurance, few owners would risk sending such a ship through a war zone. The problem becomes even more serious at ports. Insurance documents are required during inspections. Without valid coverage, a ship cannot unload its cargo. If a vessel sinks or causes an oil spill, the environmental damage and fines could reach enormous levels. Even if Iran were willing to allow Chinese ships to pass, commercial logic leads many owners to keep their vessels waiting outside the strait. Instead of risking total loss, they choose to pay demurrage fees. Those fees can range from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of US dollars per day. One Chinese sailor stranded in Middle Eastern waters wrote on social media that the situation feels contradictory. He wrote, People say Chinese ships cannot pass through the strait, but some ships have already made it through. At the same time, about 90% of the Chinese vessels are still waiting outside. According to the sailor, tankers bound for China or backed by Chinese capital have not attempted to force passage. Instead, they remain anchored in relatively safe waters outside the strait, such as the Gulf of Oman. They wait quietly, but waiting at sea is extremely expensive. For a giant tanker of 300,000 tons, daily costs can easily reach tens of thousands of dollars in demurrage. These costs include charter fees, fuel use, and supplies for dozens of crew members. Looking across the water, dozens or even hundreds of ships can be seen waiting. Together, they burn through millions of US dollars every day. Yet ship owners see the calculation clearly. Demurrage is a predictable loss with a clear limit. At worst, the profits from the voyage disappear. But forcing a passage through the strait carries a far greater danger and uncertainty. A single missile strike could destroy hundreds of millions of dollars in assets in an instant. It could also kill or injure crew members and lead to massive legal claims. If an oil spill happens, environmental penalties alone could reach hundreds of millions of dollars. Faced with two bad choices, most ship owners pick the smaller loss. The stranded sailors added that crews have spent the past few days stuck offshore. They passed the time talking over the radio. The broader crisis began on February 28, 2026. The United States and Israel launched a joint military operation against Iran. In the first hours, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and dozens of senior commanders and officials were reportedly killed in targeted strikes. Iranian air defense systems, including some purchased from China, collapsed quickly. They fell under advanced stealth technology and electronic warfare. Analysts say the operation showed the harsh efficiency and asymmetry of modern warfare. As tensions in the Middle East grew, Iran expanded its retaliation across the Gulf region. It launched missile and drone attacks. Observers describe these as an effort to pressure the world. On the evening of March 2nd, Iran's Revolutionary Guard issued a statement. The group declared the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It warned that not a single liter of oil would leave the Gulf. The statement threatened to fire on any ship attempting to pass until it became a pile of ashes. The normally busy Strait of Hormuz has been drawn into the turmoil of war. More than 1,000 vessels now anchor in the area. Ships stretch from crowded anchorages towards open waters. Under normal conditions, vessels keep a safety distance of about 0.5 nautical miles. That space has shrunk sharply. Some ships now sit only about 0.3 nautical miles apart. In the past, many small supply boats moved between large ships. They delivered provisions and services. Since the fighting began, however, these vessels have largely disappeared. For many ships waiting in the region, the situation looks increasingly uncertain. With the world's most important energy choke point effectively paralyzed, global oil prices surged within days. Prices climbed above $100 per barrel. At one point, they approached historic highs. Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz quickly touched a strategic nerve in Beijing. When Iran began intercepting and attacking passing vessels through its Revolutionary Guard forces, the situation was no longer seen as simple retaliation. It posed a direct threat to the stability of global energy flows. China relies on the Middle East for more than 40% of its oil imports. Any long disruption would be hard to accept. At the official level, Beijing's response has appeared cautious and carefully balanced. On the one hand, Chinese authorities strongly condemn what they described as aggression by the United States and Israel. They call for an immediate ceasefire and political settlement. On the other hand, diplomatic channels were reportedly used to press Iran. The goal was to keep the shipping route open rather than treat it as a leverage against other countries. On March 11, during a press briefing, a reporter from Reuters asked a question. The reporter asked whether any Chinese vessels had been struck by drones or missiles near the Strait of Hormuz. The reporter noted that at least 16 ships and tankers had reportedly been attacked since the conflict began. In response, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said that China opposes attacks against Gulf countries. He condemned all indiscriminate strikes on civilians and non-military targets. However, some observers say this restrained response has been viewed in Iran as a subtle sign of betrayal. For years, Iran's large oil reserves and strategic position made it an important partner in China's Middle East strategy. During the early years of the Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese companies invested heavily in Iran's ports, railways, and energy projects. These investments helped secure stable oil supplies. They also helped, to some extent, bypass Western sanctions. Iranian leaders view China as a natural partner in countering U.S. influence. Because of this history, China's cautious response has been seen by some in Iran as evidence of one-sided benefit. They feel Beijing gains from the relationship without fully supporting its partner. Analysts warn that this perception could increase Iranian distrust. It could also expose the fragile nature of ties between the two countries. The war has reshaped the Middle East. It has also created pressure for Beijing. During the conflict, Iran has reportedly allowed some vessels linked to China to pass through the strait as a special exception. Even so, the wider blockade has left dozens of Chinese tankers and cargo ships stranded in the Persian Gulf. Shipping costs have surged. China's energy supply chain has also had to adjust. Beijing has reportedly begun using strategic petroleum reserves. It has also increased energy purchases from countries such as Russia. Some analysts say the performance of Chinese-made weapons in the conflict, along with the powerful military capabilities displayed by the United States, may lead China's leadership to reassess its own military strength. At the same time, Chinese leader Xi Jinping appears to be distancing himself from Iran. On March 8th, Iran announced that Mojtaba Khomeini, the son of the late Supreme Leader Ali Khomeini, would succeed as the country's top leader. Russian President Vladimir Putin quickly sent congratulations. Xi did not issue an immediate statement. Analysts say that amid the ongoing conflict, Beijing may be weighing several strategic concerns. On one hand, it may wish to avoid being tied closely to a government whose future is uncertain. On the other hand, it may also want to avoid disrupting upcoming diplomatic contracts. Some observers believe Xi's silence reflects caution towards U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump has publicly opposed Mojtaba Khomeini's succession. Observing diplomatic space ahead of a possible meeting between the two leaders in the coming weeks may therefore be a key consideration.